Hey there, this is Joe Rivera from Armored Saint, and you are listening to Focus on Metal.
Hey, Metalheads, Scott Thompson here, welcoming you to another episode of that which we like to call Focus on Metal. So this week we are breaking into brand new territory because we've talked to all kinds of people in the music business. We always joke that when we did the little mountain thing or the Strange Highways, the Strange Highways thing, that we were going to even be talking to the caterer for the Strange Highways tours. But this week, we actually found another thing to delve into, and that is the memorabilia market. And further define it, it is really the high-end memorabilia market, as we are going to be talking this week with Tony Simerman, who is the CEO and creative director of KnuckleBonz. So the company that for 20 years now has made really killer rock icon statues of people like Randy Rhoads, and the stuff with Lemmy and Queen and Kiss, and just go to KnuckleBonz.com. That's Bones with a B-O-N-Z. And you can check out all the stuff they've currently have on offer and see just a lot of the incredible groups that they do licensed high-end merchandise for. And over time, Tony has supplanted and added to the Rock Icon series with the 3D album art, very, very cool, as well as the tour series, which has got some really cool road case with classic stage props, like an AC/DC road case. You open it up and you've got the Hell's Bell in there, all kinds of good stuff. You're going to hear the story behind those as well and how they transitioned from just doing the rock icons to some of the other stuff. And either way, whatever you buy from KnuckleBonz, you're going to like. But just don't take my word for it, as we are going to switch over and have my chat with the one, the only Tony Simerman, the master of KnuckleBonz. All right, Metalheads, I am very happy to talk to Tony Simerman. You guys are going to go Tony who, but he is the CEO and creative director of KnuckleBonz. That's right, those guys that make all those really cool, limited, super detailed metal and hard rock themed good stuff. And happy to have you on the show today, Tony.
Hey, how are you?
All right. It's interesting. I look at your bio, and you getting into this is kind of diametrically opposite to how I get into music, and that you talk about your father working at the Kennedy Center and bringing you down and letting you experience the bands and all that stuff. On the other hand, my parents wanted me to have nothing to do with music, hated every band I was in. So it's really cool to see somebody that went in it the opposite way and made such a great life out of it.
Yeah, so he was the manager of the concert hall at Kennedy Center, and it's nice to describe it that way, that they were so welcoming and everything. The truth of the matter is, both parents worked, and I just needed to be at work with him. So he just happened to work at manage the concert hall, one of the most prestigious halls in the world at that time.
Yeah, and I mean, the fact that, you got to see, you talk in the bio about seeing Queen, or also with, Frank Marino, Mahogany Rush and stuff, and I imagine you saw some pretty amazing shows in that time period.
Yeah, I was lucky, so I get to see the Kennedy Center stuff, and that's, not only the hard rock and metal stuff, but I had a skeleton's key, so I could wander around, so... Yeah, Black Oak, Arkansas might be in the concert hall, and I'd go over to the Opera House, and the Bolshoi, ballet would be there with Baryshnikov or something like that. And
wow.
You just take it for granted. Doesn't everybody walk around and run into Baryshnikov? Of course that happens.
Yeah, it is kind of weird when you do get used to actually being in venues and having been around in the backstage. And I've done a lot of local crew, and I've worked at a lot of the venues in the Boston area and stuff. And my co-host Richie, like the first time that we had like all access passes, he was a little bit out of his element because he was like, "What do you mean we can pretty much go wherever?" It's like, you want to walk on stage? Come on, we can go side stage. And
what does that mean? Yeah.
You forget that you're like, oh yeah, I'm really used to it, and this person isn't. But it's very cool that you had that.
Yeah. So it was not only Kennedy Center. All of the venue managers were all friendly with each other, and would comp each other tickets, or when they had people in their organizations. So Kennedy Center was too small a venue for the bigger acts. So, Queen performed there in 75, right when Sheer Heart Attack was hitting, at the beginning of that U.S. tour. By the time they're finishing that tour, they would have been too big to play there.
Right.
It's only about 2,400 seat, fine arts concert theater. But, I was able to go to the other venues that were bigger where you'd see the arena shows pretty much any time when, school or, schedule allowed. So a lot of my arena show experience is a place called the Capitol Center, which is the big
classic.
It's no longer there anymore, but heavy metal parking lot.
Exactly.
The film. That's the parking lot where that was filmed. I was there. Luckily they didn't interview me. That wouldn't have been a good look for the kids today. But we were there. But yeah, I got the big venue stuff. I got to see as a result of that hooky, which was amazing.
Yeah, I was going to ask you if one of the bigger venues you went to was going to be the Capitol Center. So yeah, that was a big name.
Capitol Center was the place. That was the only game for a big arena, unless we would occasionally go to Baltimore, the Civic Center over there. So that's kind of in between a big 20,000 seat arena and a smaller place like Kennedy Center. Right. Baltimore Civic Center is kind of in the middle. That's where I saw Van Halen open for Black Sabbath on the Never Say Die tour.
Oh, yeah, that one. That's definitely a show to have burned in your memory banks there.
I was talking big shit on the way to the show. That Van Halen record, you're not going to hear any of that guitar or whatever it is. That's all studio trickery. And Eddie came out, and that might be the tightest 35-minute set I ever saw in my life. They were so good it hurt my feelings almost. It was like, God, opening act's that good. And at Sabbath, at that point, I think if you talk to anybody in the Sabbath camp, they'll say that's for that first go around. That they weren't at their best live probably at that point. So that was the two ends of the spectrums there.
Yeah, absolutely. And they were ready to go out there and kill too. They were just super tight, and so they could do nothing but win.
It was amazing. And I mean, I'm not like a big, super Van Halen fanboy. I like Van Halen. I mean, Van Halen's Van Halen, but yeah, it was a whoa. you knew you just saw something.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about KnuckleBonz. So kind of an interesting name, and you actually took this from a teddy bear?
It's such an ugly little thing. I'm not even, it's a bear or a dog. It's not a good rendition of either. But it was all beat up, and the head and arm were like hanging on by a couple of threads. And when I'm super little, 3, 4, 5, I guess, that's what my grandmother would give me when it was time to settle down and go to sleep. She'd give me this super fragile little animal that, and say, "Oh, you have to be so still." And she called it KnuckleBonz. She said, "Oh, KnuckleBonz, you got to be very careful." So after being still for a couple of minutes, I would conk out. But that's people want to think it's this bone crushing cool name we came up with. It's Grandma.
Yeah, I laughed when I read that and thought that was that was pretty funny that that's actually what it comes, because I would have thought the same thing. With given the product line and everything, it just sounds like such a metal, bone crunching name, and it was like, oh, okay, stuffed toy, huh? All right.
Grandma Robinson came up with that name.
That's very cool.
You're right. It definitely fits, what we do.
Oh, it does. Yeah, absolutely. And I got to say, the lines that you put out, they are really cool, and you can tell just the amazing amount of work that goes into all of those that you do, because they are just so super detailed. And I know there's other folks in the market that are I won't mention any names, but they pump out, it seems like, a new product every 3 hours. And there's a certain sameness about it. But you look at what you guys have in your lines, and they all have something awesome to offer. And if you're interested in album covers, having those 3D album covers that you do, or like one of my favorite lines you do is all the road cases. I really love that line. I don't know why, but I love that line.
Mm-hmm.
But they're all super detailed.
Yeah, I mean the same effort, the same process and amount of work and detailing goes into everything that we do. And so the company's 20 years old this year, and we're most known for what's called Rock Icons, which is the realistic statue line, and that product line's 20 years old. But I guess 5-6 years ago, we were at one of our openings, an event, and a couple of fans came up and were like, "This is so amazing. These are super detailed. Thanks for doing something for our band that maybe nobody else would do. But we're never going to buy any of this stuff." And I'm like, "I'm sorry. What was the last part you just said?" Like, everything's great, but you say you're a super fan. And thanks, but this isn't something you will ever buy. Well, why not? And they said, we're just not into the figure category. I've never had a statue like this. I've never had an action figure, a bobblehead, and I never will. That's just not a category I care about. So we heard that, and then we heard the same thing a couple weeks later at a buyer show in New York. And, we said, we need to fix this. We've got a super fan that just is not into the statuary category. So we need to figure out something for them. And that's where the idea of what we call 3D vinyl came. Every music super fan loved album art, and that's how we connected with the music, for so long, before the advent of MTV. And we thought, well, let's do something that focuses on that. And that's, 3D vinyl takes great album art and makes it 3D. And the innovative thing about that was when it ships, you can mount it on your desk with an easel, or it has hardware you can wall mount it. And that's where we got the people that weren't into statuary category. That's kind of where they went, oh, okay, because these same people would, frame albums and have them on their wall. Right. So you don't have to have a special place to display it, or a man or a person cave or anything like that.
Yeah, and I like them. They're again, everything you do is super detailed, but again, another product line that I won't mention the name of, they kind of have something they tried to do similar, but you look at it and it's just very flat, very plain, and it's pretty much, oh, okay, they stuck a picture behind the thing that they do already. But then you look at yours, and you just like, oh God, that is so cool. And it does evoke that whole thing I remember of digging through stacks of vinyl in the record store, and you get that same feeling with those 3D vinyls.
Yeah, you would. I mean, especially if it was progressive rock, hard rock, metal, whatever. Those genres didn't necessarily exist. A long time ago. That's more in the last 25 years. But that's a lot of times how you would select an album to buy. I could buy a record a month. Or if I had a lemonade stand or whatever, some extra money. A record was $3.99 or $4.99. And if it was hard rock or metal, FM radio's there, but they're not playing Rush. They're not playing ELP really, other than something like Lucky Man. You're not going to hear Black Sabbath or things like that, or Kiss.
Nope.
And you were flipping through the record bins. That album art sometimes would be how you would connect with it, and you'd read the liner notes, and you'd take a shot at it.
And that's how I did a lot of mine. That was it was just that. It was like, I just got to have it.
That was the number one marketing tool for the record industry at that point. That and the cover, if you could get on the cover of Circus or Hit Parader or Cream. Rolling Stone's kind of in there, but I'm too stupid I was too stupid to read Rolling Stone.
We all were.
I didn't want to be politically motivated. I just want some cool snippets about the bands I like and cool pictures. That was
I mean, even with Cream, you had Lester Bangs gave you a run for your money too on whether or not you were intelligent enough. But at least Cream was pretty funny, and they took the piss out of things.
It was they were just being silly most of the time, so that was cool.
Yeah, they were kind of Kerrang before Kerrang was Kerrang.
Definitely. So the other product line you mentioned is a newer one. It's only come in the last 5 years, and that's the one that we call on tour. So anything that was a tour prop or a piece of stage rigging that was iconic, we would put in a road case like it would have traveled back in the day. And so things like the AC/DC Hell's Bell or the Pink Floyd Pig or the original Kiss lighted sign, we put in road cases as limited editions.
Yeah, those I love those things. They're just so cool, and I think partly too because it reminds me of like, oh crap, I went to that show, and I went and I saw that live. So that to me is why I really like them. Is that, and I just got to think about road cases.
Yeah, I used to spend a lot of time, surfing road cases and riding them down ramps as a kid, and trying not to kill myself. But the big thing was to not get in trouble, to not raise the ire of otherwise I had to run to the place. Now if the little kids getting in the way or being a pain in the ass, then I was cut off. So I was careful not to do that. I had a pretty good deal.
Yeah. I think that line when I first saw that come out, it was like, oh, this is just really, really well done, and it goes back to that. You pick some of the most visual, iconic bands out there too, so it's almost like you have the pick of such great iconography of what you do.
Yeah, I mean, licensing definitely, to be able to work with big bands and performers, it's easier today than it was at the beginning because we're describing products that nobody's ever seen before.
Right.
So, now after 20 years, people typically know what KnuckleBonz is and what we do if you're in and around music or high-end collectibles. But back then we hadn't made a lot of stuff, so it was a lot of shadow puppets and imagine if, and it's going to be cool, trust us.
Yeah, and I would imagine too that if you went back, like to the major heyday of Kiss, that you would try to do this. I don't even think that Bill Aucoin would have let that out of kind of their control either. But now they see the sense of actually licensing it to people that can really do things the right way.
I mean, Kiss they're so unique. They're all. If they would issue their own currency, they could basically be a country. The Kiss fans and the band. There's only one of them, and they're the kings.
Yeah,
the kings of merchandising. And I mean, it wasn't till I guess about 7 years ago. Somebody from the Kiss management called us and said, what is wrong with you guys? Why haven't you called us to do Kiss products? And our thinking was, that's one of the bands that there's so much out there, and a lot of it's really good, and plenty of things in the figure category. Do people really want or need things, from Kiss, from KnuckleBonz? And the management said, hey, dummies, just trust us. Do what you do for Kiss. You're going to do just fine, and you will see that the Kiss Army is going to show up every time.
Mm-hmm. And I noticed that too. You go through the figures.
Absolutely right.
And it's like sold out. And you see a lot of the Kiss ones are sold out. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, everything we do eventually sells out. Some sell out faster than others. Some we retire before we get to the limited edition number. But once they're gone, we don't ever re-release anything. We haven't in 20 years, and we don't have any plans to do it going forward. So we'll hear people that, for some reason, are just now learning about the product line, and they'll go back and see, oh, you did Jimmy Page. Are you ever going to release that? How do I get one of those? And our answer is, you can look on the secondary market. You occasionally see them, but we're not going to release anything that we've already sold out of.
Right.
That would not be cool to. We're a music merchandising company, but we're a collector's company. We're collectors ourselves, and we know something's limited edition and it's retired. That's bad form to bring it back.
Yeah,
so we don't do that.
I got a lot of respect for that too, because you could go ahead and just, oh yeah, well, hey, we did a second edition and it's the same thing or whatever. But yeah, I love the integrity you guys have of limited is limited and that's it. And I think that's actually paid off for you. That I think that means a lot to people. They know they can trust that. You're not going to do 3 final tours. I mean, it's that and it's done.
Yeah, I think 35 years ago, I was at the first Who farewell tour.
Brought to us by Schlitz.
Yeah. No, that would not be cool. Now, we occasionally will do color variants where it might be the same design with, some slight differences that are shorter runs. Mm-hmm. But we don't even do a ton of that. There's so much that we haven't done yet that we need to get to, just to go ahead and do a new design is typically what we do.
Sure. Yeah. So I'm assuming that when you're actually doing like all these figures, that you're still probably doing something like silicone molds to do these, make a mold, cast them, do the whole thing. This is a fine arts process, so there's no tooling that you'll see for toys, because they have to make many thousands to make that business work. Ours is a handmade silicone mold, resin poured into the mold by a craftsman. Yeah,
taken out.
It's a lot of work.
Cleaned by skilled people. Yeah, everybody on our team is an artisan at some level.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think some people realize just like how labor intensive that is. I know. So, the job that pays my bills is I work for a company that builds this huge piece of capital equipment. And at one point we were doing this huge skin panel for it, and it was all cast silicone mold. And you could get so many shots, and then they have to make a new sand mold and on and on. And it was just really labor intensive and just a lot of careful consideration for what you do with that product. And kind of brought it all back looking at your stuff, thinking, wow, that's just to do the super detailed stuff you guys do from molds like that. That's just incredible.
Yeah, our molds are set up they only last about 2 weeks because of to get that really malleable surface that allows all the undercuts and the detail to make the molds in that fashion means that it doesn't have much of a shelf life.
Right.
So you're going to typically cast hundreds of pieces with a mold like that, and then it's no good. And so we will maybe go through a dozen molds to make the production run itself. And the second the detail starts to suffer, we retire that mold and go to a new one.
Right. Yeah. No. And I have a lot of respect for that too, because some people that might have lesser consideration for the artistry of doing that would go, oh, I could probably just create an STL file and run it on a 3D printer and clean it up from there and all that. But the fact that you guys are doing it in this really, like you said, is a craftsmanship there, and it shows.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, we have all the tricks available to us. KnuckleBonz is 20 years old, but, I was involved in the very beginning of computer graphics and 3D, 30 plus years ago. So we've been aware of those tools always. They're now getting to the point where they can do some good things. But, Rockstar hair, things like that, it's still best to do that.
Yeah.
Do that by hand.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it is. It's really cool to talk to you about this stuff too. And I've just kind of always admired the stuff you guys put out. And I just remember the first time I came in aware of you was a Lemmy statue. And I can't remember who had it, but then a few weeks later, I see somebody else in the business had like the same one. It was kind of like, what, does everybody have this Lemmy statue? And like, where did this come from? And I was like, that's so cool.
That's funny. Like, you get a new car, you're interested in it, and then all of a sudden you think, I never see this car, and then until you get interested in it, and then they're like all over the road. Same thing. So yeah, Lemmy, we've done 2 different statue designs for Lemmy and some other Motorhead stuff. So we did an older Lemmy where he's wearing the black,
right?
The black soldier's hat. I don't even know what the hell to call it. And then we did the original Motorhead with Lemmy in front of the mic. We also did the War Pig for 3D vinyl. That's a cool design.
That is, yeah. I just could remember just every time I'd see an interview or a picture, like someone had it on their desk, and it was just like this Motorhead statue was everywhere, and like this, it's so cool.
Yeah, we do our first Motorhead thing about a decade ago. One of the people that works for us in customer service actually was a really good friend of Lemmy all the way up until he passed away for like 40 years.
Wow.
Back in the day was out traveling in the music scene.
So one of the things that I end up collecting is mini guitars. Have you ever thought about getting into doing anything like classic instrument stuff?
Nah, when we do a Rock Icons piece, the guitar has to be done at scale. So we do guitars in the course of that. But there's a couple companies doing a really good job with the mini guitar stuff. So we're just going to kind of stay in our lane there. No plans. Because
I look at the ones I have, and from a distance you go, oh, that looks pretty cool. But then you get really close up, and you're like, well, it's this kind of missing this and missing that and stuff. And then I think that you look at your stuff you do, and even up close, it's almost like looking at an Iron Maiden album cover. You keep discovering like little details you didn't notice before. Yeah,
that's fun. That's like in the day, right? You would stare at that album for hours, and then occasionally say, oh, I didn't see that little guy down there in the Rainbow Rising album from Ken Kelly. There's a little guy at the edge of the cliff that you don't notice right away. It's always those cool moments.
Yep. Yeah, Ken Kelly was good for that too.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's one thing I love about your stuff is that, you can just kind of, you start looking at it and you just find like something you didn't notice before, and you don't skimp on any of that. It just seems like everything you do is quality.
We try not to. I can honestly say, band big or small, the same level of effort and planning and, design and artistry goes into everything we do. They all have the same level of care with how they're created. Now, that said, is every piece that we've ever done perfect and exactly like we wanted? Of course not. Everything you do can't be the best thing that you've ever done. There's been a few productions that I got to the end and went, but I won't tell you which ones those are. That's like they're like our children, right?
Right.
People ask, what's your favorite? I have to say I don't have one.
Yeah, no, I can appreciate that though, that because it's a piece of art. And like, so my girlfriend, her older sister actually owns a ceramics company, and they do, all different ornaments, all kinds of stuff. And it's the same thing. I see stuff that she's like, this is great, and everybody likes it. And then there's the thing that I thought was a great idea, but when it's all said and done and people have executed it and it's been glazed and fired and it's didn't quite live up to what I was thinking it was going to be. So, but again, same thing. It's all hand done, a lot of pride taken into it. So, I can get a lot of appreciation just from talking to her about the same kind of stuff that you do as well.
Yeah. It's like I say, you can't. Everything's not going to be the best thing you ever did. So there's things we've missed on. But the favorite piece is usually just what I'm working on at the time that nobody knows about yet. Those are because they're alive, right? When a project gets finished and the production is wrapped and I hand it off to the operations and marketing people, I never go back and deal with it, and it may or may not be up in the studio. I won't see it anymore.
Yeah,
I'm on to the new thing.
So I noticed one of the other new things you guys are working on now or partnering on is beers, and I thought those were very cool. I like the AC/DC high voltage and the power up, and of course, unfortunately, I'm in one of the 10 states that you can't have alcohol shipped to, but I thought they were very cool.
Yeah, the alcohol thing, what we, our goal there was to be able to do some of the same direct-to-consumer things that we do with collectibles. And, someone like yourself, they may or may not take an AC/DC or a Pantera beer at retail. So we, the idea of being able to do direct-to-consumer like we do on the collectible side was the idea. And, we've proved the point, and fans definitely like it and want it. The unfortunate thing is the laws surrounding what you can and can't do with beer in particular are just so onerous that, we spend most of our time trying to get around, or figure out how to get something to somebody and not violate some stupid law that was written by a mob attorney after the fall of Prohibition, which is when those laws were written, by the way. That's why it's so hard to get a beer to a fan that we're involved with. So, we just released the Black Sabbath Man Lager right at the end of last year, and the first batch sold out immediately, and I within a week, the empty cans are selling on eBay for $40. I mean, the empty can. So the person that sold that can made more on the empty can than we made on a case of beer.
I am in intense pain, Pinky.
So we definitely we're going about it the wrong way.
Yeah,
pour the beer out and sell the can.
Focus.
I'm guilty of, like with Iron Maiden's Trooper, that they do have a somewhat retail distribution, and so whenever I actually get to find one that I haven't had, it's like, ooh, I got to get this, and I'm going to save the bottle, and I recap it, and so I've got like every one of those that I've ever tried, I have, and so that was part of when I saw that you guys were doing the beers too. I was like, oh, these are so cool.
Yeah, but like I say, it's been so frustrating. We're probably going to be ramping down the beverage series because there's just so much out of our control, and it's just so frustrating to do what we know fans want, and the business itself, the category, just doesn't really allow it. So we worked at that for the better part of 2 years, but I think we're probably going to be ramping down there.
Unless you wanted to do the easy thing, right? You could just go ahead and not put beer in the can, and then you can sell the can with the awesome artwork everywhere.
I don't know. I think we can make more money. We can't make more time. We should probably just spend it, on what people know us for. But we are working on some new things that are going to come out on the digital collectible side that'll be happening toward the end of the year.
Oh, cool.
As I mentioned I've personally been involved in 3D computer graphics longer than KnuckleBonz. KnuckleBonz is 20 years old. So we know how to do some amazing digital 3D things. So we're going to do what we do in the physical world, bring it to digital, but we're going to give you some amazing eye candy to be able to enjoy these things that things you can't do in the real world.
Nice.
Well beyond, NFT and blockchain, and here's an animated GIF. It's going to be 3D and super cool.
Wow. Well, I'll be looking forward to seeing that. It's because it's like
this fall, I think we'll be ready.
Nice. For the fall. Okay, cool.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah, we're going to work with the Misfits and Death initially on that, and some other bands, and then eventually one of the things we get asked all the time is, if I want to see all of the KnuckleBonz work over 20 years, where can you do it? And we're so busy doing the next thing, it tends to be build and move on.
Yeah.
So in the digital world, you'll be able to go, and there'll be a KnuckleBonz museum where you'll be able to see everything for the last 20 years in a museum-like setting. It'll be cool, and you'll be able to buy some things. And
wow, that sounds actually really amazing. I'd be definitely psyched to be able to go through that and see all that.
Yeah.
And it's probably is more gratifying than a book as well.
I mean, we're a visual, medium, right? It's a visceral, statuary thing. But yeah, we got asked that some of the podcasts we've done recently, and it's where can we go and get the accounting of everything that you've done? And it's like, well, it exists in the vault over there. We still have the originals of everything we've done, but the website tends to focus on what's new and what's in stock. So the older pieces don't have any info there right now. So we'll be revamping the website to accommodate this new digital stuff we're doing, but then we're going to catalog, and collectors will be able to go back and see what they missed, if nothing else.
Yeah, and that's good. One thing is, your website is super, super clean, easy to navigate. And for those guys that you don't know, it's KnuckleBonz.com, and it's BONZ. And I like the fact that you don't have, pages and pages of a thing that you did once 15 years ago and you don't have any more of, but it's all very current, broken down, very easy to navigate through everything, collections, the whole thing. And you can just get to where you need to go very quickly. And it's just a very, very clean site.
Yeah, I mean, and that's on purpose, because, it is a web, marketplace ultimately. And, when we're there, we assume, and people are there too because they're interested in things that they can actually buy. That's
right.
Why the idea of a museum that's at a separate site that focus on digital. Now if you're there and you've entered that place, the assumption is that's why you're there. You want to go back and be able to see some of these things that are no longer available.
Yeah.
And the secondary market will like that, because that will make everything that's older and sold out even more valuable. But
True.
we don't dictate the price of that. The fans decide what sold out KnuckleBonz pieces are worth, not us.
Cool. So anything else you want to let people know about today with what's going on with KnuckleBonz, or other things to look
there's
forward
a product
to?
launch. Yeah, there's a product launch tomorrow.
Okay.
So it's May 11th. So we're dropping a 3D vinyl for Ghost tomorrow.
Oh, cool.
So the second record, Infinitum. Oh God, I can't that Latin phrase, which means the most heinous. It's when Ghost, the second studio record, when they really started to gain momentum. And the whole Papa Emeritus thing started to really take grip. So that drops tomorrow, and that's going to be a super rare run. Where normally when we do 3D vinyl, we'll set the edition number at the year the album was released. But in this case, we're going to do a super rare drop. So there's only going to be 333 of these that are cast. So they're super rare. So and the Ghost fans are super, super passionate.
Yeah. And those are very detailed album covers those guys do, too. So that must have been a lot of fun for you guys to do this.
Oh, that band, just the production value and the fun with the whole bloodline. It's heavy metal and cool, but Tobias has good fun with everything he does, which is awesome. You don't always get that. Randy Rhoads color variants are coming, so the latest Randy Rhoads that we've got in the red leather, which is Blizzard of Oz era, so like 80, 81. He had a brown version of that same costume, so we're gonna do the brown leather and then do only 250 with the polka dot guitar and 250 with the white Concord. That's coming.
I'm looking at both of my miniature ones of those right now as we speak.
Yeah. So, and then we have a new set from Slayer coming. That's one of our most requested since the Slayer came and went. We did the first set 7 years ago. So a new Slayer set and sculpting. Kiss Destroyer is going to drop this year. We've even got something that's kind of a genre bender. Have you seen the parody picture of Bruce Lee behind the turntables?
Okay,
like
yeah.
He's a DJ?
Yep.
Yeah, Tony Stark actually wears the T-shirt of that in one of the Avengers films. The Elvis people contacted us, and in the course of that, they're like, have you ever thought about doing a sculpt of Bruce Lee? And it's like, Bruce Lee'd be amazing, but we're a music merchandising company. And they said, here, take a look at this. And they sent a picture of that parody, and I just thought it was so cool. We've got a collectible. It's going to be Bruce Lee DJ Dragon. So it's going to be him behind the turntables with the cool sunglasses, headphones.
That's very cool. Yeah, Bruce Lee, Spin of the Dragon. Yeah.
DJ Dragon. So we got that. We got that coming, and some other stuff. I can't really give up on some of the newer stuff, but there'll be product launch or two every month through the end of the year. We'll take August off, but we're going to do a summer sale in August. Because our stuff's limited edition and officially licensed, we don't discount typically. We don't do a lot of sales.
Yep.
We might do a holiday, a Christmas sale. But we're going to do a summer sale in August. So pieces that are older, maybe getting ready to retire, there'll be a chance for collectors on that. But other than that, we just keep at it. And then the digital stuff's going to come in the fall. So we're 24/7 around here doing all this cool stuff.
Nice. So yeah, I guess basically the bottom line there is that if you really like what KnuckleBonz is doing, it's keep tabs on what's going on the website and check in regularly and just don't think that it's a static thing. You guys are definitely sounds like always adding stuff on there and always have something new to check out.
Mm-hmm. There's a place to get on the mailing list. We don't. We typically will do one a month, so we're not going to hammer you with, hey, this today in KnuckleBonz. But we also do a blog that will have a couple entries a month. That that's the place where I will actually go and share some intel on something that we're working on that's not public yet. So if you follow the blog, you might get the insider when something's going to drop, or an occasional promo code if you're paying attention. So.
Okay.
The blog, just go to the website, and that's something you could just sign up for, and you'll get a notice anytime anything's new.
All right, yeah, that's definitely a good way to do it and easy. So yeah, I think I'll be adding my name to that to keep tabs on stuff because I do love your stuff.
Thank you. So let me ask you a question. I typically ask this of everybody. Of people we have not done yet, who are you waiting to see the most? Something we have not done in 20 years.
don't ever remember, and you may have done it, but I don't ever remember seeing any early 80s, late 70s, like Eddie Van Halen stuff.
So that's an interesting story. Maybe we'll sign off with that. So KnuckleBonz has been in business a couple of years in like 2005. So there's no Van Halen at that point. So we start to reach out to Eddie's management group, and it would be a different group every year, and we'd get the same thing. Ed says, thank you very much. This is just not something he's interested in doing right now. And then after about 8 years of that, so within 2008 or 9, I get this weird email from an AOL email address, and it says, hey, this is Eddie. I understand you wanted to do some statue project. My manager didn't actually tell me about this. Yeah, please call me. I want to know what it's about. So I'm thinking this is, of course, this is a friend trying to, goof with me, and I'm like, all right. But they went to the trouble of creating a fake email address, and they put a cell phone number in there, and it's a 310, so I'll play along. So I call it, and I'm like, this is a voicemail. Well, they actually went to a lot of trouble. That actually sounded like Eddie Van Halen on the message. So about 10 minutes later, the phone rings, and it's Eddie. And I'm like, hey, Ed, how are you? Good. Now tell me about this, because my manager didn't tell me about it. This actually sounds pretty cool. So I told him what we were up to, and he says, okay, that sounds good. Can we, deal with this after the holiday? It was like right before Thanksgiving. I said, oh, yeah, of course. So I contacted him after Thanksgiving, can't raise him on the phone. There's a new management group, and then we went back to Ed says, thanks very much for contacting me, but not interested. So I'm like, oh, God. So every year we would contact the whatever management group, and so it's about 2 years ago now. I get a call from Ed's attorney that used to be the lead counsel at Fender, so they knew each other from way back, and he was handling all of Ed's stuff, and he said, Ed was reminded of, this project some time ago. You're still interested in doing it? And I'm like, of course. So we worked for pretty much a year getting it ready, and it's Eddie in 1978, just like he looked like on that tour when I saw him open for Sabbath. So it's the white Frankenstrat, with the sparkly white shirt, maroon pants, white shoes, his back line, speakers with the speaker bomb.
Uh-huh.
And it's all done. And we were just in the final stages, before we would, start the marketing and the pre-sales and everything, and Ed passes away. So we didn't get to the final, approvals and everything. And when he passed, now all the businesses and everything that is, Eddie Van Halen all have to kind of be restructured and dealt with. So that's finished. And it used to be up here in the studio, and I've since just had them take it down and put it away, because I just got, it made me sad to see it, that it might never see the light of day, because everything we do is officially licensed. We won't ever release anything without the artist's okay. So in that case, that one's done. It's just we just need the all clear to do it.
Wow, that's the perfect year and everything. That would definitely be a home run. At least for me, I know it would be. But
Eddie's our number one. Yeah, and I mean, he's over the life of the company. I'd say, we get requests for literally every artist you can think of, but I think consistently Eddie's the one, and it's always like, what's wrong with you guys? Why are you not doing, Eddie? And we'll actually get that for a lot of artists. And typically, if it's an amazing artist, that would be a cool piece. If it's missing, there's a reason for it. We didn't forget about somebody that's important. It's just, it has to be official, and everybody has to be able to agree and do the business side of it. And that's the unfortunate thing. This is a business.
Sure. But yeah, it does bring it all the way back around, though, because you talk about going to see them at the Capitol Center and being like, yeah, this band isn't going to happen or whatever. But it took a long time, but eventually you did have something with Eddie that came true. It didn't happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I was very specific. You're not going to hear what that guitar player is doing. That's studio chicanery. And this is me, I'm the art guy. I can't play a lick of an instrument ever, but I was just sure that was not real. And boy, was it real.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Definitely. All right, Tony. I tell you, it's awesome to talk with you. You got new stuff you want to talk about, big news. Always very happy to have you come back on Focus on Metal and let everybody know what's going on with KnuckleBonz, because we tend to talk to artists, album artists. We talk to managers, producers, like everything. So this is definitely a part of the music scene, and it's great to have you on the show.
No, I appreciate it. Helping us get the word out.
Yep, absolutely. All right, Tony. Well, you have a good rest of your night, and again, thank you for taking a lot of time this afternoon to talk to me and let everybody know everything going on over at KnuckleBonz.
Cool, man. Thanks.
All right. There you go. There is my chat with Tony Simerman, CEO, creative director of KnuckleBonz. And I will say that as of today, so on May 15th, they still had some of the Ghost Special Edition, the one that he talks about with only 333 being available. They still had those available for pre-order. So if you're into that, especially the 3D album covers or Ghost, either way, you want to check that one out. I think once you see it, you're going to want to get it. And as of right now, there are still some available, which I'm actually surprised since it's been a few days since I actually talked to Tony. But you definitely want to check that out. Also on pre-order up there is they have a nice Cliff Burton Cliff 'em All that's also in the Rock Icon series. They got a pre-order going for that one. And as Tony mentioned, if you want to find out about this stuff real time, you just go up there. You can click on the link to get added to the mailing list. And he's true to his word. They don't flood your inbox with stuff. I did it actually right after I talked to Tony. And I think since that time, I got the announcement on the Ghost thing. And I think one other email. So guy is good to his word about them not abusing their email list participants. And again, you want to check all this out. It's KnuckleBonz.com. KnuckleBonz.com. And if that wasn't enough, Tony did a really, really cool thing for us. And if you stuck all the way through this episode and you're here at the end, then you get to hear this. But he is offering us a 10% off valid for 2 weeks from the airing of this episode. So this episode is going to go live on Tuesday, May 16th. So for the next 2 weeks from that date, you'll get a 10% off if you use the following code: capital F, small O, capital M, PC10, capital K, capital B, capital Z. And I'll also have that up on the show notes as well. So if you go to focusonmetal.net or focusonmetalpod.com. In the show notes for episode 568, you'll find that code in writing there. And big thanks to Tony and everybody at KnuckleBonz for that generous offer, especially when Tony even said they really don't do sales, except for the summer and, the ones he mentioned. But, hey, you get this other one. You're at Focus on Metal. You get the little private sale. So trying to work it for you. So again, big thanks, Tony, and everybody at KnuckleBonz for that. All right. So yeah, I felt a little weird to be back in the interview saddle this week because Richie's been covering it for years. But yeah, there you go. And hopefully, that you don't really hear much noise. Honestly, I was shocked because I had 2 giant picker cranes working directly outside my windows. I had them drilling and crashing shit in, and I mean, just the amount of beeping and banging and drilling and diesel engines revving and all this, I was shocked when I listened to the audio, and even Tony was like, I didn't hear anything after I apologized to him for all the noise. So really happy with how the mics have been performing, and yeah, good stuff. But again, yeah, kind of feels weird to be back and doing the interview stuff, and I'm sure we'll have more good stuff on the way. Hopefully you enjoyed it this week. And again, big thanks to Tony for taking a lot of time out and talking to us all about what's going on with KnuckleBonz. Again, make sure you guys check out what they give out over there, because they have got some killer stuff that is definitely not mass-produced crap. It's artisan stuff, craftsmanship with every piece that they're putting out. And I'm not just saying that because we had Tony on the show. I've seen this stuff, and it's amazing. But anyways, for this week, that's it. There ain't no more stick a fork in it. This puppy is done. So for Richie and myself, have yourselves a good metal week. And until we talk to you again next time, as always, remember,
focus on metal.
Everything else is insignificant.
You're still here? It's over. Go home.